So we are finally live. Thanks to everybody for their patience. There was a couple technical issues, but I'm really excited to introduce Paul Lepore and Tony Ann. Can you help me out with the pronunciation?
Piscatelli.
Thank you. Two alpha beta testers from Google Classroom, and also joining us on the panel is Jen Judkins, the district technology coach from Lynnfield, Massachusetts. I'm Jen Sheffer from Burlington High School, and we were able to watch a hangout with Paul and Tony and Heidi. She was supposed to be here, but she is actually in labor today, so it's a pretty good excuse.
Congratulations, Heidi.
Super excited for her. So thanks to everybody. If you can hang in there, we're gonna talk with Paul and Tony as much as we can about Classroom. Like they mentioned in the hangout with the New York Tech team, they are under a non-disclosure agreement still with Google, so we're going to try to get as much information as we can. So the first thing we wanted to talk to Paul about, actually I'm going to just, Jen, if you don't mind, you had a question about the visibility of the student dashboard, or you phrased it well, so I'm going to let you use that. And this is Jen. She's a huge GAF fan, so she's going to take over with the first question.
We had just, you know, of course, those of us that are trying to work with Google as it is right now always struggle with kids getting confused, thinking they've shared a document and it's not showing up for the teacher. So we had been talking a little bit about that and how Classroom might alleviate some of that concern and problem, where kids think they've got work in a particular folder and it's not there for the teacher to be able to see.
Yeah, I would say that what teachers who are using Google Apps right now really want is a platform where they're able to share out documents and collect documents in a seamless way, in a very, very smooth workflow. And you know, sometimes students, I think that the expression and the slogan "less teching and more teaching" really does match this product, because you know, this product is made for teachers, all teachers who currently use Google Apps and teachers who have never used Google Apps. And Google Classroom is going to be a useful product for all students who are familiar with workflow in some classes and not in other classes, because I feel like what happens is every teacher who uses Google Apps creates their own workflow. This is your folder, this is how you put work into your folder, this is how you share work with me, this is how I share work with you. Go to File, make a copy, drag it into your folder, or teachers will use a script like Doctopus to share out documents. And I think that what this product does is it eliminates the need for any of that. So it creates a platform for teachers and students to be able to share work, to share assignments, to ask questions to each other, to communicate with each other, and it essentially is an extension of the real classroom. It essentially is a way for you to take your physical classroom and bring it into the virtual world and bring it into the homes of students.
So Paul, just to expand on that, one of the things I was thinking when I heard the original Hangout call was, you know, do teachers really even have to have an understanding, as they do now? They have to really understand, like, the sharing functionality and what it means to share with edit privileges and what it means to share with view privileges. And do you feel like this eliminates a lot of that confusion for teachers and kids?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And Heidi and I, and Heidi never misses a hangout. I'm surprised. She must be having dates or something. She never misses a chance. Heidi and I are Google certified trainers, and we have a working knowledge of how to use Google Apps in and out. But you don't need to be like Heidi or I to use this product, Google Classroom. And I think that the most telling example is one of the other beta teachers from another school. It was a school that didn't use Google Apps. They didn't have Gmail. They didn't have Google Docs, and they got it for the beta. This teacher used successfully Google Classroom, and she had never created a doc before using the product. And so the first docs she created were the docs she created while using Classroom. The platform intertwines perfectly with Google Drive, and the learning curve is minimal to none. It's a very intuitive product that I think all teachers are going to find useful.
Can I add to that as well? As you know, Paul and Heidi are very tech savvy, and obviously they're Google certified teachers using scripts in their classroom along with Google Docs, so they know what they're doing. But the teachers that joined our beta, we had 2 other teachers at the middle school and 1 other teacher at the high school who aren't tech savvy. And actually our high school teacher is retiring in June, so he didn't have to take this project on. He didn't need to learn anything new. And these teachers were able to just take the product and run with it and use it seamlessly. So that just speaks to the ease of the product.
So we've gone international. I just have to throw that out there. Hi, Nilo.
Hi there, guys.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
This is Neil. I could have used your help in the beginning. He's the Hangout live on air guru. And
No.
Can you just quickly tell everybody where you're joining us from?
Yeah, is my audio okay, by the way, roughly?
Yes, it's great.
Right. Well, hi everyone. I'm joining from across the pond. That is very northern Sweden. Great weather here. Summer is getting started now, so it's really, really beautiful.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
We had some issues in the beginning. So we have quite a few folks joining us, which is neat. Just want to remind everybody too, who's hopping in here, that the non-disclosure agreement with Google is still in place. So we'll see how many questions can be answered. Paul and Tony, I'm assuming there's nobody who tried Classroom who is saying, I think for 14-15 I'll pass. I don't want to keep using it. Is that the case? Is there anybody who has said, you know, I think I'm going to back to my previous LMS? Or?
I think the opposite. I think that teachers are starting, teachers who have used Classroom are starting to start asking different questions. Do I need a class website? Do I need to have class discussion boards? Do I need to have contacts lists made? Do I need to go through all of the processes that many teachers at the beginning of the year go through to set up their current usage of Google Apps? And I think that all of the teachers who have used Google Classroom in the beta, without a doubt, are going to be using it in its full launch in September. And they're still using it in beta, so there's no reason to believe that they would use something different.
Paul, something Jen and I have talked about too is the release date of September, and we've just been talking about a little bit of a concern about that. If it doesn't come out until September, would teachers have enough time to set up their classrooms via Classroom? We're struggling in Burlington. What kind of PD do we offer in the summer? If you introduce something new, we've introduced other LMSs at the end of August, and people are like, I can't use this for the upcoming school year because it would require a whole lot of planning. So could either of you speak to that? Is that feasible for a lot of teachers, or I don't know who wants to.
I can't speak to the release date because Google sets that, and and I'm sure. But what I can speak to is the intuitiveness of this product. That there is no learning curve. It is essentially a product that you can click on and go. There's no hidden features. You don't need to look around and say, do I need to click on this sprocket for this or that? It's virtually no learning curve. An example, and Heidi, I'm going to speak for Heidi even though she's not here. An example Heidi gives is another teacher that she works with at the high school who isn't a heavy Google Apps user. He had some concerns about how to use the product before it was released to him, and he was supposed to use the product on Monday, and he was still waiting for it on a Sunday, and Heidi wanted to ease his tension, so she had Google Hangout, and he had more problems trying to get into the Google Hangout than he had using the Google Classroom. So it all goes back to the slogan, less teching and more teaching. And I think that really really embodies the product that Google has created.
And I can add to that as well, because I am the back-end person, I'm the admin person, and we've had other LMSs in the past that have literally taken my department 2 to 3 weeks to deliver to the teachers. By the time we link the data with our SIS and are actually able to deliver it, it would take quite a bit of time. This product can be used up and running day one, and with absolutely no support from myself. I didn't get involved with the teachers at all. They did it all themselves.
That sounds exciting. I think our IT staff would be very excited to see that.
Exactly. I'm very excited. I'm jubilant.
Absolutely. In working with some teachers on workflow here, one thing I've noticed a lot of teachers would do, Jen asked earlier about having an understanding of sharing. I've seen some teachers just resort to emailing, just email me, whereas I am saying I don't want you to email me. So would this product eliminate a teacher's need to communicate with students through email, but also the workflow submission through email? I don't know why somebody would want that, but some people have just gotten used to that. And I don't know if, Paul, you could answer that.
Sure. As far as communicating with students, Google Classroom offers a few different options for communicating with individual students or groups of students, your whole class of students. So you can communicate in a variety of ways with the product. You can still send email messages. It doesn't take away any functionality of Google Drive and Gmail and Google Apps as they are. It just supplements and allows you to use Google Apps within the platform. So for teachers who don't feel comfortable with emailing students, or if schools don't have that open up on their admin panel, or for whatever reason, you can still give critical feedback to students through the product. Grading is easier. Papers and essays and documents is easier with the product. I think that one of my biggest aha moments when piloting the product was when I was grading DBQ essays, document-based questions, and I was grading these essays, and I realized, wow, the feedback that I'm giving is kind of, I'm able to give the feedback to multiple students in a faster way. Therefore, I was able to give more feedback to students, and I was able to grade my papers a lot faster than it normally took. My previous workflow with Google Apps was to use a Google Form, Turnitin form. It's a common practice to create a Google Form and have the students paste the link and go through the spreadsheet and grade the papers one by one that way. So I hope that addresses communicating with students. It definitely offers a lot of flexibility.
Guys, is it okay if I jump in with a question here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, it was interesting to hear about this workflow thing, since that's something that's really close to my heart and kind of mission critical for me. And I've been using G-Class folders together with Google Apps for quite a while. Perhaps there's someone who doesn't know about G-Class folders, but basically the main thing with that script is that it creates a smart folder structure so that the students can just put their stuff in the correct folder, and automatically it's shared with the teachers that need to take a look at that assignment. So I'm not sure if this is NDA stuff or not, but does Google Classroom somehow do the trick with creating these smart folders so you get this really, really neat workflow, or is it possible to use, say, something like G-Class folders and the Classroom together?
That's a great question. And I also have used G-Class folders and Doctopus and scripts to manage workflow and to distribute work and folders to my students. And I can conclusively say that in September I will not be using scripts to do that anymore. I think this eliminates the need for G-class folders and for Doctopus. I think that more teachers will be able to automatically create folders for students by creating assignments, and you're going to find that it's an easier process than using a script and teaching somebody else how to use a script or another teacher how to use a script. I think that that teachers are going to find this very useful.
Okay, thanks.
And other teachers who were also, or Heidi, I should say, because the other teachers in the beta with us weren't really using scripts, but Heidi was also using Doctopus and other scripts, and she's not going to be using Doctopus anymore either.
Yeah. Tony, did you want to add? Could you add anything to that, or?
What I'd like to add is that obviously the tech-savvy teachers are currently use the scripts with Google, but the normal everyday teacher, we all know, are not using scripts, are not using add-ons, are not using extensions, and I think Google realizes the importance of simplifying what we do and keeping more organization to our workflow.
Yeah, I guess in a way those guys who've been working with the scripts like Doctopus and G-class folders have kind of inspired Google to do the right thing, I guess.
And I mean, the scripts aren't going away, so if somebody really likes to use a workaround instead of the fastest way, they can still go back for nostalgic purposes and use a script and say, this is how we used to do it. So, I mean, but I think that Google's goal when developing this product was to get rid of a lot of the duct tape and workarounds that teachers and people have created when using Google Apps.
Absolutely, I think that must be exactly right. And from the beginning, I think Google Apps for Education, actually it wasn't created for education, it was created for the business world, right? So there was no structure for this optimal workflow, I guess, until now. So the duct tape, that was everything you had, and that duct tape was pretty darn good.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Google Apps wasn't made for education, and I think Google has now seen the importance of making it fit the educational world.
We have a couple of questions that have popped up in group chat, which is neat. But I don't think we can answer them, so I think we're going to just move on. I just noticed that, so my apologies. One of the questions I had, I've used a couple different LMSs before that. Some of the features that I liked, and Paul, I'm glad you said that you can communicate with just individual students, because sometimes I think that is necessary. You know, if you have just one student who's late, whose work is late, and you want to contact that one student, there are some other communication systems that you have to send a message to a minimum of 3 students. I'm interested in a couple of the different features, if they're there or not, or if you could speak to them, but I liked being able to create quizzes and polls and then having those graded automatically. There was, I'm just going to say, I was using Edmodo, and I really loved that feature. I could create quizzes, polls, I could send them out, I could grade them from my mobile device. Does it have any of that functionality?
The product as it stands is still being developed and it's in beta, and so I don't want to speak too much to what features are currently in place and functionality, but Google definitely recognizes, what I can say is Google definitely recognizes the importance of getting information fast from students, taking polls, asking students for immediate feedback. If I ask a question, I want to be able to get feedback from students. And I guess to compare it to old workflow to Google Classroom, my old workflow, again, I might create a Google form, put a couple questions in, and try to get that feedback from students via the Google form. or I might use a product like Google Moderator, to poll students or ask students questions or have students ask questions. Google recognizes the importance of students asking questions and teachers asking questions. As far as what that currently looks like, I'd like to abstain from talking about.
Understood. I don't know, Jen, do you have any? Because I know you've been.
Can I talk a little bit more about what I use the product for and what I think it's good for?
Definitely.
I think that Google Classroom is a great product for teachers who like to flip their classroom and share videos with students and ask questions on students. It allows you to do that in a nice, seamless way. I think that this is a great product for teachers. I don't know if you heard our bell rang. Sorry. This is a great product for teachers who like to have discussions, discussions online with students, as far as discussion board or discussion board style conversations. And this is I think that the pinnacle of the product is to be able to share work and collect work from students. I think those are the three big things with Google Classroom. For the teacher, another cool functionality is we want to be able to know what students are doing what they're supposed to be doing. What students have handed in work, what students haven't handed in work, or what students are late. So while I can't talk specifically about what that looks like, I can say that Google Classroom is a great product to be able to manage students, and it takes away a lot of excuses from students. I tell my students that excuses are like armpits. Everyone has them, and they all stink. And Google Classroom eliminates excuses.
It's good to hear. One of the things that I was glad to hear in the previous Hangout that I watched was that teachers don't have to use a Chromebook, or students don't have to use a Chromebook to use Classroom. Did you have any? Could you speak to students who may have used it on a tablet and what that was like?
I believe students used the product on tablet. I believe students have used the product on smartphone, and I haven't heard any problems with device. I think that from what my observation of piloting the product truly is device agnostic. It doesn't care what the device is, but what you do need is the Chrome browser. So it is a Chrome product, it is a Google product, so Chrome browser.
Okay. Tony, did you see anybody using it on that? I mean, it's no secret. We're one-to-one iPad. Next year will be K-12 iPad. So we're obviously interested to know how it functions on an iPad.
I couldn't tell you that. I saw the kids were using the Chromebooks in the classroom. What they were using at home, I don't really know.
Okay.
I can't help you with that one. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I see students I love the device agnostic feature. That's a huge feature. And, we have students. We're we're one-to-one iPad, but there's a lot of students who bring their own device here. And so on blog day, you'll see students typing on a laptop. You'll see them on their iPads. More and more of them are writing full-blown blog posts on their smartphones.
Yeah.
What are you doing on your
product? I can say that the product definitely works on a smartphone. I have students who have used Google Classroom from their smartphone, and I know I have students who have iPads, and I haven't heard anything saying I wasn't able to access the product from students. But I haven't. We don't have iPads in the school where I teach, so in the classroom I didn't witness it.
All right. What else? Anybody else? There's quite a few people here. Jen, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I had a question, and maybe you can or can't answer this. You had mentioned you've used Doctopus before. You had mentioned that it's easier to keep kids accountable for when they do or don't turn work in. And one of the things I've always liked about Doctopus is the ability to lock files for editing and keep kids from, continuing after due dates. Is there something similar to that available?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. While I can't tell you exactly what it looks like, I can say that it gives the teacher flexibility with turning on and turning off assignments and embargoing assignments so that a due date means you can't work on the doc after the due date, similar to the functionality in Doctopus. It allows the teacher flexibility to allow students to work on a product and edit a product after its due date or deadline, and it allows the teacher to set the deadline of an assignment, change the deadline of an assignment, make it earlier or later based on the learning that's taking place in the classroom. So what I appreciated was the flexibility that the product gave the teacher. I didn't feel like I was handcuffed in what I could do in my classroom or couldn't do in my classroom. I felt like I was able to be a creative teacher and still assign all of the great work to my students and didn't feel like I was handcuffed to the product at all. It gives I think that Google Classroom gives the teacher a lot of autonomy and allows the teacher to kind of create their look. So this is a product that can be used by, I would say, almost every grade level or most grade levels. I teach middle school, so I mean, it might look different. I'm not an elementary school teacher or elementary school minded. It might look different in an elementary school class, but I think from what I've seen, the product allows that flexibility so that this way the teacher can really kind of create their own environment.
And so to kind of piggyback on Nilo's question earlier, because I've used G-Class folders also, and one of the unique features about that is where teachers are trying to share things in different ways, so sharing with editing ability versus sharing with, where the whole class is contributing or sharing. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So essentially with Doctopus or G-Class folders, you're able to share out an assignment so that students get their own copy of the assignment with like Doctopus. So the Google Classroom does give that flexibility so that this way you can create worksheets for students and students can turn those in. I don't know if that answered the question or not. Did it, or?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, sometimes maybe in like a science classroom you may want multiple students editing the same document, and in G-Class folders there's a class edit option folder, for example. Can you adjust, I guess, sharing permissions kind of thing?
What I can say is all features in Google Drive remain the same as far as ownership and sharing. Other than that, I'd rather not speak to any specific features at this time.
Okay. And it sounded like, too, the other thing was you mentioned that you can share links and things, like because you mentioned sharing videos for Flipped Classroom. So this really is beyond the basic features of Google Drive. It sounds like there is an ability to share and distribute links to students. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's an important thing for teachers to be able to do, to share out links or to have students share links. If they find a good, I teach social studies, so if they find a good primary source or a good secondary source for their research, they're able to post it and share with each other, and have discussions. Kind of like how we always say we're preparing students for college and career, and we're preparing students for the real world. So the same way that we all share using Google Plus, and we all share using Twitter, and we all share using Google Hangouts and using technology, I think that this tool in the classroom will help students kind of learn the skills necessary to share and to collaborate with each other.
Can you answer any questions about, as far as parent involvement in classroom? Does it have the capabilities to invite parents to join, and or did you have to alter your communication with parents, or how does that work?
So I'm not going to speak about any specific features right now, but I can say that Google does know that parent communication is important. That communicating with parents is important.
Another question I have, does it have the ability to manage the submission of other types of
I'm sorry, can you repeat? Oh, did I lose you?
I think we lost her.
I think she just dropped out. Oh, I think we were talking about this before, is whether you could, if students submit right now, you mentioned use a forms workflow, which I've done that too, and if kids create a video assignment, they would share the link with me. So is there some sort of ability for teachers to have student work submitted that's other than a typical file or document?
Oh, sure, yeah. So students can share. Students can share any URL on the product, and it's not just what's in your. They can share anything from their Google Drive presentations. I have students who create like presentations, and so it does allow that flexibility to share, a lot of different styles of work.
Okay. Excellent. I'm sorry, there's noise in the background. It's seniors' last day.
We have another month to go. We're not getting there.
Ooh, yeah. Well, the rest of the kids are here, but the seniors are. This is their last day, so we're all awaiting, making sure that the walls are still standing before they leave.
Good for them.
So I'm just looking through Jen's questions here. I just texted her. I'm hoping she's jumping back in. I know they were having some trouble. Let's see. So, what were some of the features that you felt like the students appreciated the most about the tool? I mean, we talked we've heard how it's a student-centered product, and so what are the things you feel like were the most important for students that you feel like across multiple grade levels we'll see when this rolls out?
Yeah, so I feel like what this allows is student communication between each other. If students don't know, if I don't know all of the kids in my class and their email addresses, or how I would even share with them, or how I would even send them a message if I had a question, or if I wanted to expand on a talking point that they made in class, I don't necessarily know without like some sort of platform how I would do that, right? So old workflow for me was to create a Google group, embed it, a discussion board into my Google site, and open up communication that way. That was old workflow. With this product, I don't think I'll have to do that anymore. This product allows students to communicate directly with each other, send messages to each other, and send messages to the teacher. So I think that as far as student communication, this is a very student-centered tool. And it really, I think that this is like one of the biggest points, is it really puts ownership on the students, for being responsible about when their assignments are due. Students really enjoyed the ability to be able to see all of their classes, not just like one class in the same platform. Students enjoyed seeing like when their deadlines were for each class, and manage their work in an organized way. So I had some students who pretty much, in our school, we still hand out assignment pads at the beginning of the year, like where students write in their homework, and some students, they think that's like almost like kind of comical. Like, why am I writing down what my homework is and wasting time at the beginning of class when I know my homework is on the platform, or in the cloud? So I think that really it allows students a management system for their own work. It allows teachers a way to communicate with students, and it allows an open kind of, it essentially takes your classroom and turns it into the virtual world.
This is for Tigliano to the testing center.
And I think that, sorry, we had an announcement here. I think another thing that teachers are really going to appreciate is the ability to hold students accountable, because I think that it's difficult sometimes when we're the teacher. If we have a doc, do we go to the revision history and see, hey, did this student work on the work after 12 a.m. when it was due? Or it allows teachers to be able to hold students accountable for their work.
And what Heidi likes to say is that it really extends the length of her classroom beyond the 40 minutes that she has